Hello, and welcome to today's edition of Talking to a Biologist. Today we're with Dr. Tom Booth from the Department of Biological Sciences. Welcome, Dr. Booth.
Thank you.
Just a few questions for you so the students can get to know you a little bit. When did you first come to the University of Manitoba, and what brought you up here? I understand you're originally from the United States.
If I told you when I came here, it would be in the other century, and I think we'll just stop right there. I've been here a spell. As to where I come from the University of Calgary, then before that the University of British Columbia, then before that Ohio University, and before that the University of Maine, and before that Eastern University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
All right. And what is your particular area of biology? What is it? And second to that is, what first brought you to that area of biology? Why did you become interested in that particular topic?
If I use the scientific word for what it is, it's a kind of a put-off, so I'll just say I'm a fungi and I work on fungi. And I got there by way of elf's ladders, bracket fungi that grow on trees.
And why did you find that interesting?
The smell. They're absolutely gorgeous. If you go into the forest and you just start to let your senses take over, of course one of the senses that will take over is smell, and there's something beautiful about rotting material, and particularly when acted upon by bracket fungi, by elf's ladders.
And so what is it that we're releasing inside that ecosystem that releases that smell? Is that organic compounds, or what's coming out of the fungi that you find so interesting?
It is an organic compound, and it is a rather complex compound. It is basically, it has some phenolic rings in it, and the other interesting part of it is that it can be converted into rocket fuel if you just do a few conversions, chemical conversions of the substance producing the smell.
Oh, that's fascinating. Now, I understand earlier on in your career you worked up in the Canadian North. Can you tell us a little bit about what you find so fascinating when you worked on up in the North?
Well, that's another laugher, I suppose, but it was very, very important too. It was the decomposition of dung in the very far north, just south of Ellesmere Island, an island called Devon Island, and in fact looking out over Lancaster Sound, which of course is now almost a disputed waterway. And of course what I was doing was following muskox around with a little pooper scooper and collecting the dung and then bringing it back to Winnipeg and studying it, observing beautiful organisms, and at the same time accounting for the amount of carbon that is contributed in that form to a tundra landscape.
So were you able to show the importance of a large mammal like that to a relatively simple ecosystem?
Yes, it's in a book that is now out of the last century, and it does establish that that form of carbon is a wonderful producer of hotspots, and the Arctic is filled with hotspots. Interesting that lemmings kind of associate with sites in which you will find a fair amount of dung too. So it's a fairly important, not fairly important, a very important story.
Yes, the first-year biology students, if you haven't got to it yet, eventually we will be doing nutrient cycles, and dung is, of course, very, very important in that. If you were going to give a first-year biology student sitting here watching this today some advice, if they've always been curious about the natural world they live in, what advice would you give to a budding young biologist who's maybe in first-year university, has always loved the outdoors, has loved nature, but maybe hasn't studied it at a scientific level? What advice would you give that student?
I think I hate to simplify, but I think I will. Use your head, use your heart, and go far.
That's great advice. Thank you very much, Dr. Booth, and we'll now continue with today's regularly scheduled lecture. Thank you very much.